Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's time. The Champions League is back. I don't know how to meet that with excitement or nerves. I'll let yous decide. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated as we head towards the 50,000 subscriber mark. So if you're feeling lucky, feeling confident for the Champions League, do that. It's absolutely free. Hit both of those buttons below. So how are we all feeling then? The Champions League is back tomorrow night. Celtic kick off their group stage campaign with a trip to the Coupe in Rotterdam to take on current Eredivisie champions Feyenoord, who are flying. They're a great team. They're champions of the country for a reason. It's Scottish champions versus Dutch champions, and for the first time since 1970, Celtic will take on Feyenoord in a competitive fixture. The last time we played them, it was that European Cup final in Milan all those years ago. Can Celtic finally get some revenge for what should have been a second European Cup win that night? Who knows? Maybe they will, but generally, really looking forward to this. It's the Pot A team that we all wanted, but it's still one that presents a massive challenge, a very difficult test for Celtic, but one that I think that we can all really look forward to, despite, you know, the kind of mixed bag we've had to start this season with our performances, and despite, you know, maybe some people being nervous for Europe as always. I think that we should just generally feel some excitement going into this, some optimism. I think we've been handed a group which we really have a fighting chance in. Ultimately, I just want to see us do better than what we've done in years gone by and last year. It's a different manager. It's a different group. It's a completely different landscape for Celtic to play in this season in the Champions League. Last year, we were unlucky, you could say. We played some very good football under Ange Postecoglou. We showed that we can make strides in Europe and we can compete with bigger teams. And ultimately, I just want to see us build upon that. Now, the performances and the actual tactics that we deploy in these games are going to change. It's Brendan Rodgers, it's not Ange Postecoglou. But that's not anything to suggest that we can't do what we done last year with going toe-to-toe with these sides. And if you go back to Brendan Rodgers' first tenure in charge of Celtic in the Champions League, yeah, we didn't have a lot of success, but we still, you know, got points. We still fought with big teams, and there were certainly a lot of positives in those two first campaigns in the Champions League. If you remember the draw with Manchester City, the first away win against Anderlecht, and God knows how many years, we had positives in that group stage. The one thing that we did suffer was those massive scuddings to the likes of PSG, the likes of Barcelona, and that's something that I hope we can avoid this time round. Now, Feyenoord are hopefully a team that don't hand us one of those scuddings. But, you know, we showed confidence in that group stage. And I would argue that our squad is better now than what it was in Rodgers' first couple of campaigns with Celtic. So I'm really excited to see what he can do with this side. And I think that we've been given a really good opening game. Despite being away from home, you'd probably rather open your campaign at Celtic Park. I think this will be able to be a real marker for us to see where we're at under Rodgers with this current team. And then we can maybe set our expectations to a more reasonable level when it comes to talking about Europe this season. If we build on the performance that we put out at the weekend, then I'm confident of what we can do tomorrow night. We'll talk more about that. We really showed more of what we can do in that second half on Sunday. We looked more like ourselves. The fluidity was back in the team, and there was a real kind of identity to what we were trying to do. The two goals that we scored from open play were brilliantly worked, and that was a real kind of hats off, tip of the hat moment to the guys in the midfield who made it happen. Your Matt O'Reillys, your Callum McGregors. If they can bring out those sort of performances in Europe, I know it's a big jump from Dundee to Feyenoord, but if you can bring out those sort of performances, then you know what, I'm feeling reasonably confident for these games, and I'm willing to be more optimistic than maybe some other fans heading into them. So we definitely have went into this game in a much better position than what we could have, you know, 3-4 weeks ago. And hopefully we just keep building that confidence. Overall, you just want to get off to a good start. You don't want to start the group with a 3-4-0 loss or anything like that. And against Feyenoord, we shouldn't be losing 3-4-0. Listen, if we lose the game, we lose the game. I don't want to set my expectations on Celtic going out and winning, because this is a really tough side we're taking on. but you don't want a terrible start. Something that allows you to build confidence, a good performance at least, and then you can talk about moving forward with a little bit of optimism. A couple of quick updates on the Celtic side of things heading into this game. The injury situation, as we all know, remains the same. There won't be anyone returning prematurely tomorrow night, but we've also not lost anybody heading into the game tomorrow night. A few people were concerned with Kyogo at the weekend. Remember, he went off and then came back on the park. That was later discovered to be because he was popping his shoulder back into place. A couple of people were worried, does this mean he might be out on Tuesday? Is anything going to happen? No, we've had an update from Kyogo. He has given us a very positive update on that shoulder of his. Speaking in the tabloids, this is what Kyogo had to say. He said, there's no problem, not at all, nothing to worry about. The first target has to be to get the win against Feyenoord on Tuesday. That is what we're all thinking about right now, because that will make our supporters happy. So obviously targeting a big result tomorrow night, but most importantly, he's fine. He will be playing tomorrow. That shoulder has been a little bit concerning in recent months. Obviously having to go off the park to pop it back into place isn't ideal, but he will be fine for tomorrow. He will be playing tomorrow, and that's the good news that we all wanted. So yeah, fine with that, happy with that. But aside from that, there's nothing new, no fresh injury concerns. Obviously not an ideal situation heading into this game without the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liela Bada, Mike Nawrowski, but I think we've got enough of a side there to go out and challenge in this game. So let's talk about the opposition then, because Feyenoord are a team who, as I said, are on red hot form at the minute. They're flying and they're looking to make it back-to-back titles in the Eredivisie this season. General expectations from the game. I think we should just get that out of the way, because that's the talking point. I don't watch Feyenoord week in, week out. I'm not going to pretend that I do. But what I do know is we're facing a side here who are arguably better. I don't even want to say arguably. They're a better side than Celtic. They are. This is a side that Arne Slot has led to a European final in the last 2 years, and the quarter-final of the Europa League last season, where they lost to the finalists of said Europa League last season. They lost to Roma. Both occasions, lost in the final in the Conference League to Roma, and then lost in the quarter-finals to Roma. That is tons more than what Celtic have managed in Europe over the past 20 years. Christ, we haven't won a knockout game. Meanwhile, Feyenoord have been playing in European finals. They're a better side. They've got a squad value that is much higher. They've got a team which is better. It makes it a tough game. But what it's the most even game we could have got out of pot one, without a shadow of a doubt, and it's one that we should fancy our chances in should we appear on the night. We can't disappear. We can't hide. We need to go out, we need to do what we can do best, and we need to take the game to Feyenoord, while also being cautious, not letting them in, not letting ourselves open to any of these 3-4-0 hidings, as I've said. But if we go out there and we play tomorrow night, there is no reason why we can't leave the coop with a good result. There is every chance of a Celtic win tomorrow, but my general expectation is compete in the game and leave with positive thoughts. If we go out there tomorrow night and we lose 1-0, or we lost 2-1, if we put in a good performance alongside that, I will leave the 90 minutes thinking to myself, okay, there's something to play for in this group. Let's get the points at Celtic Park and let's try and progress to the next round of a European competition. What I don't want is a game that leaves us thinking there's no chance whatsoever. So I just want to see us go out there and play very positively, and I want to see us continue that trend of what we set last year, and knowing that we can go toe-to-toe with these sides. But we need to right the wrongs of last season. Last year, we weren't clinical enough. That cost us dearly. If you remember back to the Shakhtar games, for example, we should have won them. We didn't, because we didn't take our chances. So tomorrow night at the Coop, we need to take our chances, learn from those mistakes, and who knows, maybe this time, instead of leaving these away venues with a point, we could be leaving with 3 points. So we need to see that change. As I said, red hot form. This is their last 3 games. They have scored 17 goals in 3 games. Their last 3 games, they've won 6-1, 6-1, and 5-1. That's wow. They have been really, really good. They're scoring for fun. They won 6-1 at the weekend against Heerenveen with 6 different scorers. which is just, they know how to score goals. Arne Slot plays a very attacking brand of football, and almost similar to like we were with Ange Postecoglou, the goals come from everywhere on the park. So we've got that to deal with. A side who'll probably want to go out there and score as many as they can tomorrow. They're in a mentality and a mindset very similar to where we would be heading into these group stage campaigns, where just attack, get goals, and be the better team. They'll be going into that thinking that they can outscore us. So yeah, it's a team that can play football. Currently sitting 4th in the Eredivisie. They will be challenging for the league title once again. Those 2 draws hold them back, but they are still undefeated in the league this season. So a side that Celtic are going to have to fight hard against. The injury and suspension picture has changed for Feyenoord. When we spoke about them in the deep dive, we obviously looked at the fact the right back Gertrudia was out, was injured. He's no longer injured. He returned at the weekend. He's back. He will be playing, which is a blow to us because he's a really talented right back and he will cause problems down that flank. But the other stuff mostly stays the same. So on screen, I've got the injury and suspension picture for them. Currently, Justin Bijlow, the goalkeeper, first choice keeper, is still out. Ayase Ueda, he is still out as well, the Japanese forward. And the other key one that's missing for tomorrow night, Santiago Jimenez. He's suspended, of course. We spoke about that. He will miss the game against us, which is good news because he's a very good striker. And he's out, but that's two massive ones for us. I don't know too much about Ueda. I've not watched him. He's only new to Feyenoord as well, so he's really just getting into things. But Bijlow and Jimenez being out, I've put so much in that. But Bijlow and Jimenez being out tomorrow is great news for Celtic. Bijlow's fantastic. He's a great shot stopper, great keeper, but he's also very important to the way that Feyenoord play football. A lot of what they build out from at the back is done through Justin Bijlow, be it short passes or even his long passes, is very key to what they do. But he's out, so good news for us there. Santiago Jimenez, who's fantastic, young, great striker, he is also out, suspended for the first 2 games in this campaign. And that includes, obviously, us tomorrow night. So Arne Slot has spoke about that, and the replacement has been identified with him and Ueda both being out. Speaking to the Dutch media, Arne Slot has confirmed that Igor Paxal will be the guy to replace Jimenez, most likely anyway, in this game tomorrow. He basically said along the lines, there's a few options to replace Jimenez. It's in Dutch, by the way, on the screen, I know. It could be Linger, it could be Paxal, and I think he is the one that comes to mind. Ivan Uzic is also possible. We have to see exactly how Celtic will play. So he has given a number of options who it could be. It does seem like he's favouring Igor Paxal right now, but he's going to obviously evaluate how we're playing and what's best against us. On that note, very quickly, Igor Paxal, not a bad player either. Obviously not first choice at Feyenoord, and if anything seems to be more of a winger than a striker. But if you look at his time at Feyenoord thus far, he's not got a terrible record. Last season, 28 appearances in the Eredivisie, scoring 7, assisting 5. And this season, inside 5 appearances, he's already scored 2 and assisted 2. So he knows how to find the net, and he knows how to contribute to goals, whether it be a left winger playing at striker or not. If we don't mark him up correctly, if we don't defend well, he's got to be someone who does cause us problems. It is still a bit of a let-off not playing against Santiago Jimenez, but they have still got very good options. In terms of how they play football and what Celtic need to do to counter that, doing my reading, it seems that Arne Slot has been compared a lot to Marco Bielsa, former Leeds United manager. So if you watch Leeds and you remember how they played football, very fast-paced, very attacking, constantly pressing the opposition, it's just a lot similar to, you know, all the popular managers nowadays. You know, what Ange Postecoglou done for us, what Jurgen Klopp has brought in at Liverpool. It's a mix of all these kind of great successful managers, but none of this defending 10 men behind the ball. Don't expect to see much of that tomorrow. They will be going for it. They like to play out from the back, but they like to do it with purpose. A lot of darting runs. I genuinely think that one of the closest things we compare it to is Ange Ball. There's a reason that Ange Postecoglou was the option after Arne Slot at Spurs. They wanted Slot first, they couldn't get him, they went for Ange. There's a reason for that, because they have a lot of similarities in the way they want to play football. If you remember Bielsa's football, which Arne Slot has been compared to, quick throw-ins, quick set pieces. Does that ring a bell? Yes, it does. Our last manager. So, yeah, expect some very attacking football from Feyenoord tomorrow. How we counter that, I hope, is not by sitting. Remember the first game when Rodgers came in and we played 5 at the back against Barcelona? Nothing like that. I just hope we play our game. We're patient. If you think about how we played against Rangers in that second half at Ibrox a few weeks ago, that was the game they had to chase, and they were constantly attacking and they were constantly pushing up on us, but we dealt with it very well. So we need more of that. And despite not having our strongest back line, I think that if we can just keep the game as steady as possible, and we don't bow to the nerves or the pressure, I think we can handle it absolutely okay. So starting 11 predictions then. Who will start the game for Celtic tomorrow? Here on screen is what I think will be the 11 that Brendan Rodgers goes with tomorrow night. And there's obviously a couple of areas to have a bit more discussion on. Straight away you'll notice at centre half I've went for Liam Scales and Nat Phillips. And the reason for that is because Scales has played really well in the last couple of games, and I think that Lagerbielke would have started on Saturday if he was going to start tomorrow. I might be completely wrong on this, and it's hard to predict because both of them did appear. Lagerbielke did get a half of football. I mean, it could be Lagerbielke and Scales for all we know. It might not be Phillips, but I'm going for Phillips and Scales as the starting partnership tomorrow. Not ideal, of course. We wish we were going into this with Vickers and Nawrocki, or Vickers and Phillips. Or we just wish that Vickers was there. He's not. But I'm going to go for this also because I think that Scales has a slight bit more pace than Lagerbielke, and if Feyenoord are playing at fast football, darting runs through the middle, Lagerbielke looks like he's stuck in the mud sometimes. Brilliant at tackling, good defender, but if he loses his man and the forward's too quick for him, that could cause problems. So I think Scales might be better equipped to deal with that. So I have gone for Liam Scales for tomorrow night's team. So Joe Hart, Johnston, Phillips, Scales and Taylor as my back four. The Holy Trinity midfield has to return. O'Reilly, Hatate and Callum McGregor, of course. I think that's got to start tomorrow night. None of this Turnbull stuff. It's got to be those three. On the wings, I've gone for Yang and Maeda. A lot of people might be saying Palma. And you know what, I wouldn't be adverse to Palma maybe getting a start tomorrow night, but I just think it makes most sense. Maeda's direct approach can probably be very helpful in this sort of game. So I've gone for Maeda, I've gone for Yang, and then of course Kyogo up front. For me, the team sort of picks itself. I think the biggest conversation is what centre-half partnership that you go with. And ultimately, I don't think it makes a massive difference on the game. Just things slightly favouring Scales, I think. So finally, my score prediction for tomorrow night. Guy, I don't like doing these because it can slap you in the face, but you also want to be optimistic. So it's a hard one, but listen, Feyenoord are really, really good. A really good team, and I would be delighted if we could walk out with a point tomorrow. As long as it's not one of those points like Shakhtar last year where we didn't take our chances. But if we fight hard and both teams are equally matched and we walk out with a draw, I'd be delighted with that. So I'm going to go for 1-1 tomorrow night. I mean, it could be a higher scoring affair. Both teams like to attack. Both teams have good goal scorers. But I'm going to go for 1-0. Play it safe. Boring, yes, but I'm going to play it safe. And that's going to be my score prediction. So that does it. A bit of a longer match preview than usual, but Champions League, it hits different, doesn't it? So we need to make it different on the match preview. So I hope you've got enough insight. I hope I've done enough homework for you all. And hopefully tomorrow night when we're reacting to the game, we're reacting with smiles. Right, like and subscribe if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.